Hey, I'm Thicke, and this is Cluster Flux, and we're doing things a little bit different today. I'm actually a guitar tech outside of here, so I'm going to show you how to set up a guitar the way I do. Might as well, right? This is kind of how it's done, I guess. So first off, obviously, we're going to want to get rid of the old strings. I've got a little tool here. I use a lot of D'Addario products. I just love their stuff. Shout out to Vicstad as camera op.
What up?
If you have this sort of tool, you're going to be clipping the strings right in between here. I usually will sometimes kind of pull it tight a little bit, just so you make sure that you can get a clean break. Sometimes on Strats especially, the strings can kind of get stuck. Sometimes you just have to use like a little Allen key. I've got this actually for later on, but it'll come in handy for this. So now that the strings are off, we're just gonna go ahead and clean it up. So I have been mainly using one by Music Nomad. When I was in a shop, that's what we used all the time. So I've just kind of kept using it. And I actually have one of the Fender factory cloths. You can just use any like microfiber cloth or really almost any cloth. And I'll just do a couple sprays on there and wipe away. And this one stuff you can use to also clean up some of your hardware, like say the bridge saddles and whatnot. There's also another little trick that I had learned. Lemon oil works actually really well at getting rid of rust. And other things, like say if your pickups are really rusty or something like that, you can use lemon oil to kind of get rid of that. But keep in mind, if you do that, you might actually get rid of some of the plating on it. So if it's nickel plated or like gold plated, you might start to notice it kind of wearing away when you do that. So be careful.
Not just cleaning the front.
Cleaning the back. Gotta clean that booty. And I'll even clean the back of the neck too. You can get rid of some of the dust and stuff by using a little brush. This one also has like a little string cleaner underneath it, so you can go underneath the strings and get everything. I don't normally use that. So this guitar is pretty grungy. It's not going to get fully cleaned, but I'll do my best. Now that it's all dusted, it's cleaned. There's actually, I don't know if you can get this Vicstad. We're focused. You can get some scum on your frets. Just from sweat and just from playing a lot. So we're gonna get rid of that. So all you'll wanna do, it's just a standard razor blade. You're just gonna take that and you're gonna go almost straight down. It'll be slightly angled and you'll just kind of go back and forth on that in between the frets. And you'll start to see like already there's little bits of just sweat grime that's getting shaved off of there. You'll see more as I keep going. It gets kind of disgusting sometimes. Once you get the hang of it though, it goes pretty quick. I'm just kind of scraping the light little layer on the top. I'm not really trying to dig into the fretboard. And don't be alarmed if once you finish up with this, you see little spots where you can tell that you took the razor blade across it. It's okay. That'll be fixed later. You will make a little bit of a mess if you have to do this. Yeah. Vicstad, you nasty.
I know.
So if you do end up noticing like a little bit of residue in between the frets, you can use the back end of the razor blade. Make sure not to cut yourself with the actual blade. Just kind of scrape along the sides of the frets. Try not to put too much pressure or you will actually kind of make a little cut into the fretboard and brush away again. All right, now that we cleaned off the fretboard a bit, we're actually gonna polish the frets. So there's a couple ways that I'll usually do it. The main way that I'll do it is I'll use this Frine. It's by Music Nomad, go figure. And this does amazing things to frets, but it's also very time consuming. So in the interest of time, you can also do steel wool and some magnets. I usually put them in like a pill bottle of some sort. By the way, this is super fine steel wool, so it's what, 0.000. And you're just going to take that and just rub up and down the fretboard. This does get messy. If you have anything magnetic, watch out. To also help, if you have pickups, just take a cloth that you've got nearby, cover up the body, and go to town. So it doesn't really take that long unless they're really bad. It took me like, 15 seconds? But then you'll just take your magnet and you'll just kind of go over the whole thing. That's a really easy way to just polish up your frets. Now we're going to hydrate the fretboard. This is actually pretty important. If you ever notice sometimes after a while, you start to notice some of the edges of the frets get a little bit sharp. That's due to the neck actually dehydrating. Just from humidity changes, weather changes, temperature changes. It kind of fluctuates with the seasons. To help counteract that, you're going to want to use some lemon oil. Now this is Dunlop lemon oil. This is a dabber type. When I was working at a shop, I just had like literally an oil that I would just kind of put a little bit, dribble it along the fretboard and just rub it in with my fingers. I'm going to do something similar, but I'm dabbing it on. And now I'm literally going to take my fingers, usually these two fingers, and just rub it in. Once you rub it in, if you notice it's starting to pick it up right away, let it sit for a minute. If it's not really, then you'll be okay. I usually take a cloth, just go ahead and rub it out. That sounds bad. Rub it out. Pick up all the excess oil that was there. Now this part will actually usually take care of all of that motion that you had with the razor blade, getting all the sweat grime off of it. That takes care of pretty much all of it, if not all of it. We gotta put new strings on. Where are the strings?
They're in the other room.
They're in the other room. So next we're gonna restring it. So I use these a lot too. Vixad just happened to accidentally order these.
I purposefully ordered them, but I couldn't remember which guitar I bought them for.
That's right. I always use these. Again, I'm a big D'Addario fan. I use the NYXLs. These stay in tune longer and have a longer lifespan. I just love them. They're a little bit brighter tone though, so if you don't like a super bright tone, I wouldn't recommend them. I usually go from thickest to thinnest, so I go from the low E to the high E. Some people do it other way, some people do it from the middle. It's up to you, honestly. It doesn't make a difference. What I normally do for restringing is especially on a Fender guitar, I'll go 2 pegs after. Once you get to the last peg, you kind of have to guess and kind of pinch that off there. And then I put that through up until my pinch point. And from there, I'll kind of take that other end and bend it up and bring this around the top of the string. So it kind of goes around the top of the part that we bent. That's to help lock it in place once you actually tune it up and it starts going underneath. You don't have to get it to perfect pitch right now because we're going to put the rest of the strings on and it would just mess with it anyways. And I don't normally clip right away. I'll do it after I stretch them out, which we'll get to. Also want to point out, I was talking about the 2 pegs on the Fender. If it's a Gibson or an Epiphone, I do 1 peg. Okay, so now that we've got the strings all on there, now we're gonna tune it up. When I was working as a tech, I got to use some nice Peterson tuners, but I know what most of you are gonna have at home is a snark. Snarks work wonderfully. So we're just gonna tune it up. I've got it tuned up now to E standard. Now that I've done that, I'm going to stretch the strings. I usually do this about 2 to 3 times depending on how well it sits. Basically, you just have the string, you take it. Don't want to go too crazy, especially on the higher strings, but on the lower strings you can definitely do this, but literally take it. I'll usually put it in between a couple of my fingers, hold down and kind of anchor with my thumb and just kind of pull it up. After that's done, it's way lower. It's a C sharp now. So you just tune it back up. Basically what this is going to do for you is help keep tuning stability right off the get-go. So you tune it back up to E and then you do the same thing again. Once you have one string done, like I just did the E string twice, and it's sitting pretty good, you just do it to the rest of the strings. Now remember, don't do it super rough to the high E or high B strings because they will break. We've got all the strings stretched out. They're all tuned up. Now we're actually going to finally cut the string ends off using that same tool as before. Now I do neck adjustment, which actually I do need to do. What I do to check this is I hold down the first fret, and then I hold down the 17th fret with my thumb. And basically then I'm going to take my middle finger and try bouncing at the 7th fret. And if you just have a tiny, tiny bit of bounce, you're good to go. If you have a decent amount of bounce, like I actually do right now, you're gonna have to adjust it. What I'm gonna have to do is, because I had more bounce, we need to tighten the neck and have less relief. If you have no amount of relief in there at all, and you can't bounce it at all, it's just flat against the 7th fret, you're gonna have to add relief. So you'll want to do the exact opposite that I do. So facing the truss rod, which is up in the neck. On acoustic guitars, it's down at the bottom of the neck. On electric guitars, it's usually, depending, unless you have like a 60s reissue or something, it's going to be at the top of the neck on the headstock. Basically, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. I need to tighten it, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'll usually do it a few turns, at least with the amount that I have to do. But if you don't have too much to do, I'd say do like a quarter turn, check it. If you need more, do another quarter turn. If you have a lot, maybe do a half turn. So I'm gonna check this, and now we're sitting good. Just got a tiny little bit going on there. So now the neck is adjusted, we're gonna have to retune it, because if you had to tighten the neck, it's going to bring the pitch up. If you had to release the neck a little bit, it's going to bring the pitch down. So we have to retune. So once you've got it back in tune after adjusting the neck, the next thing that I'm going to do is adjust the action, which is how high the strings are off of the fretboard. And that can make it easier or more difficult to play. If your action is very high, it's going to be far off of the fretboard and it's going to be difficult to play. If your action is very low, it can get buzzy and it will be very easy to play because you don't have to push the strings down too hard to actually get the fret. The way that I normally do it is most electrics and even acoustics. Acoustics I might do a little bit more, but I do it in thousandths. I know some people do that metrically. In metric? I don't know. Some people do it in metric. I don't. I do imperial because that's how I was taught. But you'll want a string gauge for that, or string height gauge. And again, I just have a D'Addario one because I like their stuff a lot. This is also very much like a Stumac one that you can also buy. I just happen to have a few of these lying around. So we do this by string, and usually I'll have it range from the top string being at about 80 thousandths. So that would be 0.08 on the scale here. And then at the high E string, I would have about 0.06 or 60 thousandths. You want that string to be right above the line if you want it to be at that measurement. So a lot of these are gonna be in between. So you just kind of have to gauge it. So I want this to be 80 thousandths on the low E string. Let's see where we're at. And by the way, to check this, fret the first fret and then take your gauge, hold it as straight as possible or as perpendicular as possible at the 12th fret. We got about 60 thousandths here. So I gotta raise that up a bit. You're gonna need an Allen key, or if you have a Les Paul or Les Paul Jr., you're just going to need a screwdriver. With the Strat, you're gonna have these individual saddles here, and they all have 2 screws on each, and you're gonna have to do both of those. And you're gonna take your Allen wrench, this one just happens to fit. You're gonna go in, I have to increase the height. You're gonna have to tighten it a little bit to bring it up. If you end up increasing your height all the way you literally can't do anymore, there might be a different issue with your guitar that's much more complicated. So I'm going to check this again. You will have to tune it after every time. There's a lot of tuning involved if you haven't realized. Also, another tip real quick. Usually you should keep your saddles perpendicular to the body. It's better and it'll have better string contact. It won't slip as much if you have it just perpendicular. Check this, and we got 80. Cool. So then I'll just keep moving on. I'll bring it down. So let's say there's 6 strings, just a little under. You kind of have to just progress it all the way down until 60 for the high E string. I can't tell you specifically what I'm doing. You just kind of have to keep going in between until you get to 60 on the high E. All right, now if you were able to get that going, we got the action set. It's going from 80 on the low E string up to down to 60 on the high E string. And now we just have intonation, which is the tuning up the fretboard, so that when you play something up here, it's going to sound in tune, just like something down here. So in order to do that, it's pretty simple, honestly. I would do it how you're going to play it. So if you play hard, I would do it a little bit harder. If you play soft, I'd do it a little softer. That's normally what I would do for people when I was working as a tech. I'm going to plug in quick. I'm going to play the 12th fret harmonic. So that's just lightly holding or pressing your finger over the top of the string ever so slightly and plucking it, and you'll get the harmonic. And so you're going to want that to be in tune. So for the low E, you're going to want it to be in tune to E, which it is. And then you're going to want to fret the 12th fret, and that should be the same exact pitch. In this case, it's a little bit sharp. I want to increase the length of the string to make the pitch go down as I fret it. So in order to do that on a Strat, it's on the back here. And you're gonna wanna take a screwdriver, which I have somewhere, and you're gonna tighten it because you need more distance. And once you adjust it a little bit, you're gonna wanna tune it again. You can just tune it to the open string if you want to, but then you're gonna have to tune it again to the 12th harmonic. Then hold it down again. We're still slightly sharp, so we're gonna do a tiny bit more. All right, so now I got the pitch from the harmonic to match at least close enough for now to the pitched fretting of the note. And so it just basically continue that all the way up the strings. Once you've got them all in tune with each other, the 12th harmonic with the 12th fret, then you'll be able to play down here in tune, or up here in tune. Once you've got that all set, then you're good to go. Maybe give it another quick wipe down, and you're just ready to start playing. Once the volume is turned up. I know my things. Anyways, that was setting up a guitar with Thicke, and this is Vikstad's Strat, and I'm sure he is very happy that is now set up properly.
Looking forward to playing it.
And this is part of Cluster Flux. We got more stuff to come. Maybe I'll do a setup on my Les Paul soon, and I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.